Yeah, did you see that? So
Yes, they have a.
yeah, we're recording. So first, thanks for allowing me to interview you. So let's start.
No problem.
Okay. So actually, possibly this is for live interview. So I will have some questions about your life events,
Okay.
including your childhood, your adulthood, and something like that. So my first question is about your childhood. So,
Yes.
what year were you born?
Uh,
Where? Yeah.
1951,
Okay. Where were you born?
Kansas City in the state of Kansas.
Okay. Did your parents tell you anything about the day you were born?
Well, I found out from my mother it was a Monday.
Oh, okay.
That's all I know. Other than that, no, I don't remember her mentioning anything else. But one time I was curious about what day of the week it was because there was a man that was a savant who could tell you what any day of the week was going back 300 years in about 5 seconds. And I asked him July 31st, which is my birthday. I asked him what day of the week was that on, and he could tell me. He thought about it. He said that was a Monday. So I had to go home and ask my mother, and she said he's right. It was a Monday. And I said that's amazing that he can do this in his head. So
Yes.
anyway, I found out that I'm born on a Monday. That's all I remember. That's all she told me, really.
Okay, that's interesting. But why were you given the first and the middle names that you had?
Oh, that's easy because both
Yeah.
my grandfathers,
Mm.
my one grandfather was Benedict and my other grandfather was Francis. So that was a combination. So they named me Benedict Francis
Yeah.
Bielski.
Yeah.
My father's last name is Bielski.
Sure.
And since in this culture they name all children take the name of the father, the
So
last name.
yeah, actually the last name is not often to see in Kansas. Is it right?
No, it's not extremely common because it's Eastern European. Actually, it's technically I think it's Polish, so it's not a common name in Kansas, probably.
Yeah. So tell me about your parents. Where were they born? And who was most strict, your mother or your father?
Oh, well, that's funny because both my parents were actually born here in Kansas City,
Oh,
but their parents were born. My grandparents were, or three of my grandparents were born outside of the United States, but both my parents were actually born right here in Kansas City. So, um, and then uh, which one was most strict? Um, uh, my father was loud. He would raise his voice, but he would not physically harm you in any way. He would, and my mother could discipline you by using uh, guilt. Guilt. She could make you feel guilty, and
okay.
it's a soft form of discipline. The father was loud, threatening, but he barked a lot, but he would not bite, like a dog that would bark, but he would not bite.
Okay.
So, but my mother was gentle and very loving, but she knew how to make you feel guilty, and that's the way she could
Okay.
control you.
Yeah, okay. So that's interesting. And another question: what responsibilities did you have at home when you were young?
Well, actually, I had quite a few because I was the oldest child of seven in the
Mm.
house, and they would tell me that I have special responsibility because to look after the younger children. And so I heard about this many times that when I was young, but it wasn't. They did not make me do too many chores or responsibilities, not too many. But I did have to do more than the other children because I was the oldest.
Okay.
So I did have to begin to find some sort of a work when I was about eighth or ninth grade. It was voluntary because they would have us go do a little job, maybe throw newspapers to houses, and that kind of thing. But that was kind of voluntary on my part because I wanted to have a little money, to buy some candy or things like that.
Do you like a cake?
But I was not overloaded with responsibilities. Pretty much all I had to do was go to school and, take care of myself and help a little bit with the other children.
Okay.
That's about all.
Okay. So actually, I know you went to university, and actually, in your book, you gave me, I know your job is working at post office. So my question, what did you like most about your job?
My job at the post office for many, many years. I was not crazy. I was not. It was not a very stimulating job most of the time. It was routine. It was monotonous many times. It was banal, might be a good word. It was not intellectually stimulating. It was sort of repetitive work. Oftentimes, it would be sorting letters or selling, stamps or things like that. So most of the years I spent, it was it was not bad though. It was actually, in some ways, it was a good job. It was actually part of a government job and in 1970 they had a large strike at the United States Postal Service that made for good wages. Actually, the post office paid above average wages compared to many working people. So I was lucky in that respect. Plus, they had a good pension for, like retirement. They had medical, insurance and things like that. So those were good aspects of it. And the job was not physically too bad. I mean, I was a clerk. I did clerical work.
Okay.
I did not work outside. They have carriers that used to go out, to all the houses, but I never did that. I worked inside. I worked as a clerk my whole career.
Okay.
So it was a good job, and I was kind of proud of the fact that the United States Postal Service was the top ranked postal service, I think, in the world. The United States has some bad things about it, but the Postal Service was one of the best things about the United States.
Okay.
So overall, I was kind of proud of it, so, because we had a good union and provided a good service, So overall, I was proud of that whole thing.
Yeah, I know that. So when did you get married?
When I was 14, the first time. No, I did not. I think I was, let's see. I think I was 29.
Okay. So
I don't think I had turned 30 yet. No, I was 29.
okay, 29. So how many children do you have, and what's your favorite story about each of your children?
How many children do I have?
Yeah, and
Counting the ones in Mexico?
so,
I used to tease people like that. I would always say that.
I know, you can't help.
No, I only have that's a lot, but I have four children.
Yes, and what's your favorite story about each of your children?
Well, that's hard. That's hard to pick one favorite story,
So something just jump in your mind is okay.
Well, when I think of my oldest son, Ben, I think of his art. I think of, from an early age, I noticed and I was impressed by his ability to draw things,
Mm.
So that was what I think about first when I think of my oldest son. And then my next daughter is Katie, and she has a high sensibility and a high intelligence that I noticed from an early age. And so, but she's also, yeah, highly sensitive, and I could not kid around a whole lot with her because she was too serious, sort of always serious. But then let's see, my third child was Maggie, which was she was more physical. She was more less verbal when she was a child. She was less prone to analyze everything. But the biggest thing about her is I was surprised is her fascination and interest in science.
Yes.
That I didn't know about until she was in high school.
Okay.
So that surprised me.
Surprised you. Yeah.
Yeah. And then my youngest son, Vincent, he's like a combination of all my children combined. He's in some ways I don't know, he may have the highest intelligence level, I don't know, but he has an ability sort of to do anything he seems to want to do. He can do art, he can do music, he can read the literature, he can read philosophy, he can read political science, he can, this is he's sort of a all around talented, and I knew this from the time he was very young. Also, he has more of my sense of humor, I think. And so those things stand out in my mind about him.
Okay, so actually, possibly you think Vincent possibly is more like you more. Is like you more?
I would say so. Probably, if I had to pick one that had most, in some ways, qualities of mine, I would say maybe Vincent. Yes.
Okay, sure. Okay.
We seem to share a similar sense of humor more, and also more long discussions about subjects like politics and things like that.
Okay, so sounds good. So right now I have a question for the present. So do you have any hobbies or special interests? I know you have.
Hobbies is I'm interested in current events and political developments. Probably I read a lot of stuff about the political situation and political theory and hobbies. Yeah, that's probably my main. That I would say reading and trying to not only just politics, but a little bit branched off. And I do like to read classics of literature and things like that.
Yeah,
That's probably my main interest, I would say. Right. Of course, that's been probably my main interest for many years, I would imagine. I can't seem to stop myself from trying to understand who's on the political stage and what their motives are, and what's the direction of the countries, various countries, and whether they tend to be the nature of human beings in terms of whether they can ever establish a quality society, and how politics would play into this.
Okay, so tell me a little about your midnight gym.
Oh, the midnight gym.
Yes.
Well, I did have a certain fascination with physical exercise, mainly as an aesthetic thing, not as a competitive, necessarily to be strong. Mostly as aesthetics for the reasons of building a body that was like a Greek god.
No, I know.
No, it was mainly to improve my appearance, and so I still to this day can do that to a certain extent. And like you say, I go to a midnight gym, an all-night gym, because I sleep many times till 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's best for me late at night sometimes when I stay up very late, so I can go at night when there's actually nobody around. And I value going there and being able to push myself physically, to exercise. It seems to be a therapeutic thing. It helps me psychologically too, because of this mind body connection we talk about.
Sure.
So a hard workout improves my mental my thinking process. So that's a good thing about it. Plus, I still feel like I can mold and shape the body a little bit like a sculpture.
Yeah, sure.
And it's a little bit like an art project too.
Yeah. And
it's a challenge. It's a discipline.
yeah.
It's sadomasochistic. You have to punish yourself.
You enjoy that.
Yeah, it's like if you don't know how to make yourself hurt, then you cannot. It seems like it's ineffective.
Okay. Actually, it is your philosophy.
I'm sorry, it's what?
It is your philosophy about the gym.
Philosophy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's right. Yeah, that's my philosophical take on it.
Yeah. Okay. So I have last question. So
Okay.
do you think about the future and make plans?
No, I don't make too many plans actually. I just take things as they come.
Mm.
I'm not a very good, I'm not one of these people that plans out everything I'm going to do for way down the road, long ways off.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm happy in the moment, because that's all we really have. Everything, the only thing we have is right now at the present. So
Yeah. You mentioned this before.
I think that it will take care of itself. I will make, at the time comes, I make the right decisions possibly.
Okay.
For what I'm going to do in the future, And when the time comes, then I face that when I have to, but I don't worry about it, or I don't think about it a whole lot.
Yeah.
Because my time is, I have more time behind me than I do ahead of me right now.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
No, I don't know what it means. Okay, you look so young, so no problem. So actually, I remember you mentioned you have a good life in that book. So how do you define a good life?
Well, I don't know. I think everybody defines it in their own way.
Yeah.
If you feel satisfied and you can, you're at peace, which I seem to be. I don't have that much anxiety or anything right now. I don't know. It's so I guess that's what you'd call a successful. I could look back on achievements, I guess, and things like that. No matter how you measure it, I figure that I've achieved. I mean, if you want to, traditionally, but then, my son's never actually had to work at a job too much like I did, but I'm not proud of that necessarily. I would not condemn anybody to have to go to a certain job for 30 years and work every day at some monotonous chore that they don't necessarily like. If you must do that, that's something you must do, but it's not something necessarily I'm proud of all the time. I would not condemn someone for not having to do that. Matter of fact, if they don't, I would be happy for them. So yeah, overall, yeah, I don't have much anxiety, and I can look back. I think I have enough memories stored and things like that I can swim around in these good memories. I think that I have. And there's now, since we have these smartphones, you can record everything you've done, and you can even look back, and very quickly. It's in your pocket if you want to remember. It would be amazing if we would have had these 30 or 40 years ago, because I could have, recorded so many more things. But most of the time we never had this. Now we can instantly record everything and everybody that we meet.
Yeah.
And you can sort of look back, and already in this bank of these photos and things like that, and books and things that I've recorded on this phone is amazing. That I have a library
Yeah.
that is inexhaustible.
You mentioned
That I could actually spend all day just going through this thing. I have the books, I have the memories, I have the everything, pictures. It's astounding. But yeah, so that's one thing I relish, and I like going back and recalling things now, memories.
Yeah.
And you don't want to think too much about the I think, like I say, the most important thing you have to remember is the old thing about you only have the present right now, and it's not worth, you should not spend a lot of mental energy on worrying about things in the past or the future, because we only have the right now. And the main thing is about life is it's the word ephemeral. Like, I think I told you that many times.
So,
The only thing about life that's the most important word in English is ephemeral,
okay. So,
which is fleeting, which is fast, which is the blink of an eye, which is,
okay.
in the old Bible, in the old biblical Christian thing on Ash Wednesday, they have a ceremony on Ash Wednesday, which begins Lent period. They call it Lent, which just started like in February. It's 40 days that leads up to Easter. But anyway, even as a child, it made me think about the ephemeral nature of life, because, they had this thing called Ash Wednesday. And what they do is, an ash is just after you burn paper or anything, what the leftover material, that is powdery and that has a dark color to it. Well, they take these ashes of either burnt paper or whatever it is, and they make a mark on your head with them like this. They take the ashes and they make a mark right here.
Yeah.
And then they say, from dust you came, and to dust you will return.
Yes. Sure.
And it makes you think about that. It makes you think, I came from just dust, and that's what I will be
Yes.
before long.
Yes, in Chinese language, we just say 来自尘土，归于尘土. The same meaning, just the translation.
It's almost the exact same thing.
Exactly same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
This I remember even as a child, because that was the one thing about the religious experience that I did remember, because it made so much. It was actually frightening as a child to think about that.
Okay.
Yeah, when you first begin to think about death as a child.
Yeah.
And then you go to this ceremony and they put dirt on your face and they say, that's what you were and that's what you will be.
Yes. Okay.
And so this is frightening, but it makes you think about death. It makes you think about,
okay,
how ephemeral life is. Now I'm getting depressed.
Sure. Okay. Okay. So anyway, so we can finish our interview. So thanks for your time. Thanks for sharing your wonderful life stories. I appreciate it.
Oh, I enjoy it. Thank you.
Okay. So I just stopped the recording.
Good. Okay.
Okay.
Now we can just talk without worrying about it.